Hello and welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Chad Campbell, and with me is my co-host,
Mike Karen.
Before we get to today's film, we'd like to invite you to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.screamsandstreams.com. That's Screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes and our watchability scale, where we rank all of the films we are looking at. Please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Just a warning, in the podcast, we do jump around in the plot when we are discussing the details, and we may end up spoiling the film if you haven't had the chance to see it yet. If you are someone who doesn't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now. Check out the film and then rejoin us for our discussion. Today, we are looking at Blacula Scream. It scored 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think a 37% for the audience score for favorability. So let's get into it.
All right. Summary of the film. I'm going to read two just because the first one really gives all you need to know, but then the second one adds all the details that just don't come up again.
Sure.
The vampire, Mamuwalde, aka Blacula, is resurrected by Voodoo and forced to kill again. And that is the gist of the film. The second one from Claudio Carvalho on IMDb. When the voodoo priestess Mamuwalde dies, she is not selected who will be the next leader of the cult. Her ambitious and arrogant son, Willis Daniels, believes that he will be her successor, but the cult chooses his stepsister, Lisa Fortier, instead. Willis is angry and meets an old voodoo priest who gives him Mamuwalde's bones and written instructions to seek revenge against the cult. He resurrects Blacula, who turns him into a vampire and his minion. Blacula goes to a party at Justin Cartier's house and meets his girlfriend Lisa, who is now a powerful voodoo practitioner. Blacula continues his crime spree, and while Justin investigates the murder cases caused by him and his vampire minions, asks for help from Lisa to use her powers to free him of his vampire curse once and for all using a voodoo doll.
Ooh.
So I wanted to read that second one just because the whole Mamuwalde death and this choosing of the successor is what opens the film and is never discussed again for the rest of it.
That's right. And it really is the catalyst that sets the whole thing into motion. But yeah, they never talk about it again. All right, we're going to get into our categories now, and our first category is first impressions. Before we get started on this, I would like to mention that these films we watch are the first sightings of these films. So we watch them, we make comments, and do our research, but we usually haven't watched them twice. This is our first impression.
Yeah, this is definitely the first time I've seen Blacula Scream, and I never saw the first Blacula, so I came into this very blind.
We should mention that this is the second installation of the Blacula franchise, I guess. Some people, I did read, and we'll get into this later, that some reviews said that this one was better than the first, but according to Rotten Tomatoes, it did not do very well. So Mike, why don't you give us your first impression here?
I watched this back to back with our other 1973 film, and so I did find it a more enjoyable watch, just based off of comparison from the amusement park. But it was an uncomfortable viewing. With the whole Blaxploitation history of cinema, you sit there and watch this movie directed by a white person, written by a white person, with an all black cast going,
right?
Like, is this appropriate for them to do? Is it okay for me to enjoy this? I'm not sure where I'm supposed to respond or not respond.
Right.
But overall, it was not a great film. There's a lot of things we can pick apart with it. But as far as just sitting down and watching it, I enjoyed it. I was entertained, but that's as far as I can go with it. I didn't walk away going, that was great or anything like that.
Right. I'd say my overall first impression was that it was too long. It comes in at a running time of an hour and 30 some minutes, 35 minutes, something like that.
I would have guessed 2 hours.
And it feels like that. But with the scenes that they have and the long party scenes and things like that, I think they could have cut another 20 minutes out of this film. And it would have been
sure.
There's a lot of filler and not a lot of killer. I would agree with Mike. It is entertaining. And after watching the amusement park, it is more entertaining than that one. There are good moments in this film, but overall not a great movie. Just something that you can watch and easily forget.
Yeah.
So those are our first impressions of the film. Now we're going to move on to Tropes, Hall of Shame. In this category, we look at those things that we have seen over and over again in horror movies. What has been done to death What are the things that take the suspense and originality out of the viewing experience? Well, Mike, you want to start us off?
My first trope is Blacula goes to a party at Justin's house and he's in this room and trying to just be incognito. And a woman at the party cuts their hand and is walking around the party, and he sees that blood and instantly it's like, oh, that bloodlust comes into it. And it's just, it's done to death. It's the vampire's in control, but like, oh, there's blood, like a shark in the water, the frenzy.
I can't control myself around this little bit of blood. The other thing, doesn't that cut look so bad?
Oh, yeah.
They just poured
nail polish
hot sauce on, on her hand. It just looks awful. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to give my first one. It's the tropes and Hall of Shame is the voodoo ritual at the beginning and at the end. I thought it was pretty bad. I've seen old movies with voodoo rituals in them before, and they seem kind of silly. So that one. Also, the language used for these gang of people is, I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible. It just seems like, I don't know if anybody really talks that way in the 70s, written by a white guy. They're using terms like jive turkey. What you doing, boy? Like, I don't know, man. It's tough to listen to at times. Not everybody uses that language, but it comes in from time to time and it just takes me out of the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard. Like, and is that the way Jive spoke? But then I think of like the movie Airplane, right? The two Jive talkers. That's right. Lay him down and slap him,
that one lady has to translate. I speak it.
But I mean, that's the Zemeckis brothers, and it feels more authentic than anything in this movie. It really
does, yes, yeah. So yeah, those are my two. I guess I went back to back, but sorry. Okay. Did you have another one, Mike?
I had one, and it's a small one, but right after the voodoo ritual, when he tries to resurrect Blacula, Willis is house sitting this mansion, and all the furniture is draped in cloth. And until we find out that he's house sitting, I'm like, why is everything draped in cloth in these movies?
Right.
And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. But he leaves the room where he'd done the ritual, and he walks into the dining room, and there's a full fire blazing in the fireplace. Whereas in the other room, there was also a fire in the fireplace. I'm like, who are these fires for? Like, he gets home, he builds fires, he lights them in every fireplace.
He's got no central heating. It's just he needs the fireplace.
Okay, I can give him that. Fine, fair enough. But it was just like, who goes into an empty room, starts a fire, and then leaves? I couldn't.
And it's amazingly well maintained. Like, it's a blazing fire. It's not like just this little trickle of coals. It's being fed.
Yeah.
So that is category one. Now we're going to move into one-liners. These are lines from the film that stood out, either for their originality, impact, or their notability in the film. I'm going to go with my first one, which is jive turkey. Right at the beginning of the film, when the voodoo priestess has passed away, Willis Daniels is trying to state his claim over dominion of this gang, and he shouts out jive turkey. And as I'm watching, I'm like, what?
In the same scene, I'm just going to throw mine in because it's in the same scene where he's talking to Lisa. He's like, you jive ass bitch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be a great movie.
So there's that one. Did you have another one?
I did have a second one.
Okay, you go ahead with your second one, and then I'll do my last one too. Yeah.
All right, so this is after Willis has been turned into a vampire and he's getting dressed up to go to a party. Right. And he's got his like really great suit on, just the most amazing pattern. And he goes to
right. I forgot about that. It is an amazing suit. You really need to see the movie just for the suit. I will say.
So good. He goes to the mirror to check himself out, make sure he's looking good. And of course, vampires cast no reflection. As he finds out, he's like, hey, look, man, I don't mind being a vampire and all that shit, but this really ain't hip. I mean, a man has got to see his face.
Yo, man, you're right. That line, that whole scene is amazing. Yeah. And he's like, I can't even check out how I am, or like, oh, it is crazy. Meanwhile, the Count or Blacula is sitting on the couch, just, oh, you think you're going somewhere? Mm-hmm. And this guy is like, yeah, I'm gonna go meet my lady and all this. It's hilarious. Yeah, that scene alone, it's really good. My second one was Mamuwalde, that's the name of Count Blacula, is walking through the streets and he gets approached by these pimps, which in the credits are listed as pimp number 1 and pimp number 2. And the line is, "Your bread, man, all of it, or we're going to have to become antisocial and kick your ass." It's like, okay. Actually, Mamuwalde comes back and says, "I'm sorry, I don't have any bread on me. And as for kicking my ass, I'd strongly suggest you give it careful consideration before trying."
I really liked the way he talked.
Yeah, so those were my two. Pretty funny. I forgot about that scene with the suit. That it is amazing. You have to see the suit. What doesn't hold up is our next category, and here we take a look at those things in the film that feel dated with a modern viewing. They may have been fresh and original at the time, but they just don't hold up when we watch them in this day and age. So, Mike, you're going to kick us off with what didn't hold up first.
The first one was when I first started looking at this film and what was going on and who did what with it. It's the whole blaxploitation again, right? In the 1970s, there was starting to become a class divide, and the more affluent people in America were starting to get televisions in their home. They weren't going to the theater as much, and so people weren't going to the cinema, and movie makers were like, we need to start to get an audience. Who can we start to focus on? Well, we'll target the less affluent Black communities in America. We'll start to make these blaxploitation films. And so when I looked up, I'm like, this is a white director and a white writer directing an all black cast and like writing us. We talked about the jive turkeys and the jive ass bitches and that. And it's like, is this the language of the time, or is this what white people thought the community was doing? And so it just doesn't age well. And we call it blaxploitation for a reason. It's not black representation. It's exploitation of a culture for finances.
Right. I'm going to go a little, I guess, on the cheaper side and say it was the special effects for me
For sure.
that didn't hold up. As we had mentioned, the cut earlier, there are times where they show the bite marks on them, and it looks like they just dribbled Frank's Red Hot on the side of their neck and just had it there, and they had to hold their neck just so it didn't dribble off. Yeah, the special effects in this are pretty sad by today's standards, and even at the time I don't think the blood would have looked that real.
No,
like, it just didn't look good. I will say though, for the time, 1973, him turning into that bat was pretty good.
Yeah, until the animation of the flying.
Yes, until he actually flew. Yeah. And then if they would have just had him like fly off the screen and then show him appear in the next scene, just use a little cross dissolve, blend those scenes together, it would have been fine. Yeah. But they actually showed him flying, and you're just, it's too long.
On the special effects with what doesn't hold up, I had the same thing with during the voodoo ritual. He has to kill the bird to get the blood, and the special effects for this movie are terrible, but that looked so real.
Yeah, and I know. You kind of wondered, did he actually? And there was no audio for him breaking the neck or anything. It was just like unsettlingly silent.
Yeah. And so I put like, this was either they killed a bird on film or that special effects stood the test of time, but why would they put all the money into that scene?
Right.
I did have one more doesn't hold up.
Okay, go ahead.
It was the racist cop.
Oh, so, yes. Yeah.
A woman has died at the party and the police have come to investigate it. And we've got Harley, the racist cop. And he comes in. This is his introduction line. "Now, I've always considered myself a reasonable man. Am I thinking maybe a little prejudice due to race, creed, and color? But then again, none of us are perfect."
Oh,
yeah. And I'm just like, so he comes out the gate saying, "I'm a racist. I hope that's okay. But we all have problems in a room full of black people.
I hope you're good with this, because I'm just a horrible person."
But I almost feel like that's what the director had to say to the cast.
I know.
Like, I've got my prejudices, but you're all acting for me. So
yeah, so get behind this. Yeah.
Nobody's nerfect.
Right. Okay, and after that, we're going to move on to most gratuitous scene. For this category, we are looking at those moments in the film that go too far. This could be gore or violence, but it can also be an overuse of something by the director that impacts the way the film is viewed. And I would say, after your last comment, it was the whole film. The blaxploitation of this whole film just seems like it's gratuitous and shouldn't be used, but I don't know. It's tough. But on another note, I said the bite scenes and the screaming and the bite scenes, they chew up scenery like crazy. It's ridiculous how they react. So sometimes it's screaming and horror. Sometimes it's almost sensual. It's a weird mix back and forth. and it's done over and over and over again throughout the film. And I'm just, by the second one, I'm done.
Yeah. And that's where my gratuitous scene comes in as well. Denny is Willis's girlfriend, and Willis has been converted into a vampire at this point, and she shows up at the house and she comes in and she's looking around for him and searching for him. And this is some of the best acting in the movie, where she really sells the discomfort of being unsettled and not knowing where he is. And then when he's going to bite her, I really felt for it. Like, it made me feel unsettled. It was, yeah. And I think that's just in the comparison to when Blacula converts Willis. Like, it was just a little flash in the pan, and this one was far more.
Right. Yeah.
Gratuitous, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Next, we have stood the test of time. In this category, we're looking at what parts of the film feel fresh, original, or extremely well done. We're looking at parts of the film that don't give it a dated feel, or that add to the enjoyment or the horror experience as we watch. And we're going to have Mike kick it off again with this one.
So for me, it was during the party at Justin's house, and this woman, Maggie, goes upstairs and she's just fixing her makeup and just getting refreshed to go back down to the party. And then she's sitting at this makeup table, and in the mirror, we can see the doorway behind her. And Blacula has gone out to search for her because he's now got this bloodlust. He needs to find his victim. And the door slowly creeps open behind her. And it's been established that there's no reflection in mirrors. But for half a second, I'm like, she's going to see him. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. But I thought it was really well done, where, yeah,
guy's got to see his face.
He casts yeah, my man has to. I thought it was really well done, where it's like, yeah, vampires cast no reflection. So she's sitting there vulnerable, has no sense of this is coming, and we almost get this POV approach of Blacula coming up to get his victim.
That's right. Yeah. No, I remember that scene, and I remember thinking it was, she doesn't really notice him until the very, very end, where she just kind of turns up and sees him, right? But he walks in silently, and she can't see him in the reflection. Yeah.
So I thought that was well done.
Yeah, no, you're right. That was well done. My stood the test of time is William Marshall. He's the lead actor. He's Mamuwalde, or Count Blacula. And his acting stood the test of time for me. I thought he did a really good job. He's the best actor in this movie. Probably the series, but I haven't seen the first one, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
But no, he does a really good job. And his voice, man, you talk about Morgan Freeman, and how did this guy not get narration roles? Or maybe he did, and I don't know. But man, his voice is cool.
Looking at his IMDb, he did some voice acting with like real Ghostbusters and a few other things.
Right.
But yeah, you think he'd be out there more. That voice, I want an audiobook by him. I want an instruction manual, anything. It's just so nice.
The guy could read IKEA instructions and you'd be, mesmerized. You could be like, number 1.
A man stands and looks confused. Number 2, he picks up the phone.
Moving on, we are at back it up moments for this film. I'm going to go first, and I said nothing really. Actually, it's not a horrible film. I only backed up the last 30 minutes because I had actually fallen asleep. So my back it up moment was the last 30 minutes with the police invasion. But actually, that scene is that's where everything is culminating. It's the climax of the whole movie. It builds up to that scene. However, I don't know if it's really a back it up moment, just because it's very slow. The action isn't, I don't know, the vampires move like zombies. The cops that come in there have stakes that look like they ripped off the neighbor's white picket fence.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So for that reason, it is the climax of the film in that section. So I guess that would be my only back it up moment.
And that's my back it up moment as well. That scene with the police raid into the mansion where Blacula and Willis have been establishing their home base is cut with the voodoo ritual where Lisa is trying to free Blacula's soul. But what I love about that scene is, yeah, it's slow and it's methodical, and it's what you expect, where the police turn a corner and then, oh, there's a vampire there, and they turn around and, oh, there's a vampire behind them. But I think I liked it just because it's where the movie finally has a lot of action. For a slow scene, it's the most active part. It's also the scene that made me laugh the most because Justin is convinced there's a vampire, even though we have no proof.
Right.
But he gives all the police wooden stakes. And Justin sees somebody out of the corner of his eye and drives the wood right through the heart of that person.
Yeah.
Without any confirmation for sure that it's a vampire. And I'm
Right.
like, if he's wrong, he straight up just murdered the guy.
Murdered a guy. Yeah. Well, in the end kind of bothered me too, because he just kind of spins in a circle and screams, and then it fades out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're leaving it open for him to be resurrected again and to try maybe a Blacula 3 or whatever. But I don't know. The ending just didn't work for me. Like the whole, I want to be uncursed, so I'm going to go through another voodoo ritual to get uncursed, which is why I was enough voodoo rituals already.
And that's where it's like, I'll leave, but only if you come with me to Lisa. And she's like, okay. And I just thought, like, is she toying with him because she wants to kill him, or is she actually attracted to this man? Because there's this weird trying to be romantic relationship between the two that goes nowhere.
Right.
She doesn't seem adverse to it.
But is that the power of the Dracula though? Because I mean, they can hypnotize people and do mind control, but we never see, or there's never any reference to that through this film. So if that is added on, then it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But if it is true and they're doing that, then, you know, it would make sense that she would be. But then she goes against him and like stabs the voodoo doll.
Right. Yeah. And she's with Justin. Right? Like Justin and her are dating. So it just seems weird that she's like, yeah, I'll go with you. So maybe it was that like double cross. I do have one thing that I didn't know where to put it into the category. It's almost my back it up, because I did have to pause and go back and pause and go back. Justin is trying to find proof that it's a vampire. And so he goes to the bookstore, and there's the fiction section. And then the next section, it's a handwritten sign, occult. You can tell they just went to a bookshelf, threw it on there, and put on their own sign.
It's the most disorganized library I've ever seen.
I don't know if it's a library or bookstore, because on the shelves, so this is why I paused and backed up and paused and backed up. The titles are amazing. There's King Rebel. I don't know what these books are about, but King Rebel has several copies. Twilight Believers, The Erotic Revolution. There are 6 copies in one section alone. Summer in Sodom. There's at least 10 scattered throughout. The Zolotov Affair, which I did look it up, and it's a political sort of discussion between two people.
Really?
Yeah. Dr. Quick's Teenage Diet. Think Yourself Thin. Like, and they're just all scattered,
just all over the place. Just rough shots, and then they throw up this occult thing, and he finds the one book. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I don't know if that's back it up, because you got to see it, but it was just the instant I saw The Erotic Revolution, and I was like, wait, that book's there multiple times. I had to pause and rewind and just keep looking at titles, because it's just so weird.
So there you go. There's a back it up moment for sure, I think. Yeah. If you're trying to decipher all the different books in this mad library or bookstore, we're not sure. All right, so now we are officially finished our categories, so we're going to move on into bonus features, and this is where we find research. As we watch the films, we also do some research to add the experience of watching to the film. And these are things that we found to add color to the story of the film. Mike, do you have anything out of the gate here?
The first thing I have is I could not find the budget for the film. I can't imagine it was too high.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, the box office take overall, including video rentals, and that was $2,180,000.
Whoa!
So I'm assuming it did fairly well, or was a success.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me by those numbers for that time. I found something kind of interesting, but it says William H. Marshall's Mamuwalde was the first black vampire to appear in film. Marshall had previously worked in stage productions and in the episode of Man from UNCLE, Nurse of Bonanza, Star Trek, and Mannix. He has also been in Twilight Zone, Perry Mason, and Rawhide, which I thought was kind of interesting. I've never actually seen Rawhide, but I kind of want to go see where he was in there.
You missed out on his best role, though.
What's that?
He was the king of cartoons on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, my Lord. I totally missed that. Yeah. I used to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse, too. Yeah. I should have remembered that. One thing I will, and I don't know if this goes into any category or anything, the bonus features, but I'm just going to add this. When he turns into Blacula, when he turns he becomes this kind of werewolf looking thing. He gets these sideburns that come up, and it's a weird look for Dracula. And also, one of the funniest things that I thought in the film was when he gets turned into the Dracula that turns him in. The white guy's called Dracula. Right. But when he puts him in the coffin, he's like, I will call you Blacula. I'm like, whoa. Maybe that's a what's aged the worst or didn't hold up. That's what that is. Is like, I will call you Blacula. I was like, whoa, okay, I guess.
One of the things I just kept thinking about as I watched this movie was that scene in The Office where it's Halloween and he's like, I'm not, and Daryl's like, I'm not Blacula. I'm just Dracula and I'm black.
You have anything?
Just a few of the other cast members and where they ended up or went on to. A lot of them just found fame in TV shows, like Don Mitchell, who played Justin. He was on TV's Ironside for pretty much the entire run of the show. Michael Conrad, who played the racist cop, was in Hill Street Blues. Lynn Moody, who played Denny, she was in Knots Landing and General Hospital. And Richard Lawson, who plays Willis, was in Poltergeist. And of course, Pam Grier, famous for other blaxploitation films like Coffee, Foxy Brown, and Tarantino's Jackie Brown.
Right, yeah. So apparently the first film, Blacula, was released to mixed reviews in the United States, but was one of the top grossing films of the year. It was the first film to receive an award for Best Horror Film at the Saturn Awards. Blacula was followed by the sequel, Blacula Scream, in 1973, inspired the wave of blaxploitation films, which kind of set everything in motion. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like this one film that got such crappy reviews all of a sudden set up a whole other genre of film.
But I think the box office speaks to that, right? Like it got horrible reviews, but did well. People went to see it. So it's like, well, we paid, I'm assuming again that it didn't cost a lot to make this film. It was shot mostly in Los Angeles. In 4 locations tops.
Yeah, like in a couple of houses and a street.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't imagine it cost a ton of money. And none of these actors were well known at the time, so I don't imagine they made a ton of money on these.
No, I can't imagine. My last piece, I was looking at the Roger Ebert review from the year it came out. He gave the film 1.5 stars, and I think that's a fair assessment, but it's what he said in his review that I wanted to bring up. It's the most insulting thing. It's an adequate vampire movie. And he just talks about, like, if you're looking for the vampire tropes and the expectations of vampire behaviors, this is your film. It's got all of that, but that's all it has. But in his criticism of Blacula Scream and its failure as a horror film, he says the best horror movies are turned out by the Hammer film crowd in London. And if we remember, Hammer Films are the people that did Dracula AD 1972.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can this was, I would say, comparably better to Dracula AD 1972. So I was like, well, now I got to look up what he said about that one. And he gave it 1 star and just destroyed it. So I just think it's weird that he would destroy a Hammer film, but then say they're the ones turning out the best horror movies.
Maybe he's a bit confused.
Maybe.
That wraps up this one for us. So thank you very much for listening to us. Be sure to check us out on our social media pages on Instagram. We are at ScreamStreamPod, no S's. Stop by our website, www.screamsandstreams.com, to check out our information about all our episodes and the films we have covered so far. Please subscribe, rate, and comment on our shows on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. And until next time, this has been Chad
and Mike.
And thank you very much.